I don't think that we can ever have peace with my family unless the truth is out there. There's a lot that I can, forgive, but there needs to be conversations, and then in order for reconciliation, and part of that has to be accountability. And the argument there were fights almost as if you should do what I tell you. Prince Harry is making headlines again, but not for anything noble, or this time, the buzz around him is far from flattering. According to insiders and low-key reports from behind the scenes, something seriously alarming happened at his Montecito home in California. But what people don't know is the efforts that I've gone to resolve this. While the official word from the palace remains silent, the details have shocked the world. Rumor has it that Harry was found unconscious at his home, not because of a fainting spell, but allegedly due to heavy D-use. And if that wasn't bad enough, Meghan Markle reportedly wasn't even there when it happened. Sources claim she left the scene to attend a private party at an exclusive members-only club, while her husband was being rushed to the hospital. Just let that sink in. Now here's where things get even more intense. It was Harry's longtime bodyguard, David Langdown, who reportedly found him. And this isn't just any bodyguard. Langdown is a highly respected former Scotland Yard officer who's been protecting Harry for decades. He even received a medal from the late Queen. His job is literally to keep Harry safe. And this time he might have saved his life. Of course, this isn't the first time Prince Harry's name has been linked to D rumors. His past with substances has been quietly discussed for years. From marijuana to magic mushrooms, even sea powder, there have always been whispers. But this situation feels far more serious. This wasn't some wild Vegas night or blurry party memory. This was an emergency. Reports claim Harry was completely unresponsive and had to be taken to the hospital, where he stayed under care for hours before stabilizing. And as for Meghan, instead of staying by his side, she allegedly left almost immediately, possibly to create an alibi. That said, she was seen that same night, laughing and socializing at an exclusive club, acting like nothing happened. But this whole thing isn't just about one bad night. It points to something deeper and more concerning. Even if a portion of these claims are true, it suggests that Harry's been struggling for years, and no one in power has stepped in to help him. Even royal biographers like Penny Junor, who has spent decades studying the monarchy, has hinted that Harry's issues with D's began long before Meghan came into the picture. If we rewind to the early 2000s, there were already murmurs about Harry experimenting with different kinds of D's. But it quickly escalated, according to some insiders, moving into harder D's blackouts and full-blown panic behind closed doors. And get this, when things got out of control instead of strict consequences, Prince Charles reportedly built a nightclub inside their Highgrove home. Yes, a literal private nightclub apparently. To keep things under control like that was ever going to fix the root of the problem. Even wilder stories from as far back as 2007 have resurfaced, claiming Harry once snorted vodka. Not drank, snorted. Medical experts say that's one of the most dangerous ways to consume alcohol, sending it straight to the brain and potentially causing instant death. Yet somehow the media barely touched that story at the time. Prince Harry is opening up about turning to D's and alcohol years after the death of his mother, Princess Diana, in the first episode of his new 5-part docuseries about mental health awareness with Oprah Winfrey. Why? Because one of the few outlets that reported it, News of the World, was shut down in the middle of an entirely different scandal. After that, the rest of the press, silence. Before this all happened, Harry exposed his habit in an explosive memoir. Prince Harry didn't hold back, openly admitting to using illegal D's. He shared that back in 2015, while living at Kensington Palace, he regularly smoked marijuana. He also revealed experimenting with substances like sea powder psychedelics, including ayahuasca, and drinking alcohol. Harry revealed he turned to alcohol to cope. He said, "I was willing to drink. I was willing to take. I was willing to try and do the things that made me feel less like I was feeling." His honesty caused quite a stir, especially in the US, where a conservative think tank based in Washington, D.C., pushed for the release of his visa records. Their main question: did Harry get special treatment when applying for his visa, because under normal circumstances admitting to past D use can complicate entry into the US or even lead to denial? They wanted to know whether Harry had disclosed this on his forms or conveniently left it out. When the issue gained traction, some documents were released, but they were also heavily redacted for privacy and national security reasons, and that left the group with more questions than answers. At the time, the Heritage Foundation, the group behind the lawsuit, said the Duke of Sussex did so, despite the fact that it is widely known that such admissions can have adverse immigration consequences for non-citizens, and despite employing preeminent legal advisors on both sides of the Atlantic. Just 2 months after Prince Harry dropped his tell-all memoir, he faced fresh criticism, this time from a grieving mother, Fiona Spargo Mabs OBE, a de-education advocate whose teenage son tragically died from an MDMA overdose. She called out the Duke of Sussex for publicly claiming that using illegal substances had helped improve his mental health. She warned that Harry's remarks could send a dangerous message to young people, especially those struggling with similar issues. Do you think that Harry is saying something perfectly normal, as do seem to creep more and more into our world? Or has he said something a little bit foolish? I think that what he's saying isn't normal. I think it's becoming increasingly more of a mainstream view, but it's still not. Most people don't think of turning to alcohol to help them cope with that. The backlash grew stronger after Harry repeated those views in a live interview with a trauma expert, Dr. Gabor Mate, author of The Myth of Normal Trauma Illness and Healing in a Toxic Culture. During the clip, he said sea powder didn't do anything for me. It was more of a social thing and gave me a sense of belonging for sure. I think it probably also made me feel different to the way I was feeling, which was kind of the point. Marijuana is different. That actually really did help me. Fiona's son, Daniel, passed away in 2014 after an accidental overdose of ecstasy while out with friends, and she slammed Prince Harry's comments. She told ITV News, "Given this context, Prince Harry's comments about using Ds as a way of dealing with past trauma could easily be misconstrued as being true across the board. Problems there are other sources of support, and particularly for young people, that's where it became a concern. Now that Prince Harry is under fire, many believe his old habits never really went away, and that Meghan has known about them all along. Instead of helping him overcome his substance use, she allegedly did nothing to support his recovery. According to Harry, matters worsened when it came time to embark on his royal duties. He told Winfrey, "I was in fight-or-flight mode, panic attacks, severe anxiety, so 28 to probably 32 was a nightmare time in my life." In fact, some say she pressured him by dismissing his feelings, telling him he was just stuck in the past for missing his family. While Harry's life seems to be going down the hill behind closed doors, Meghan Markle's name keeps getting dragged into the mess, but not in a good way. According to several sources, Meghan hasn't just been aware of Harry's struggles, some even claim she's been feeding into them. The allegations are dark, suggesting she might be using his dependency to keep control over him. It's a chilling idea, but it's not entirely coming out of nowhere. People are now digging into Meghan's past, and it's not all royal titles and red carpets. Way before she became the Duchess of Sussex, she was already known in certain Hollywood circles, and not for her acting. Guests at her first wedding in Jamaica still talk about the party favors, and no, we're not talking about candles or thank you notes. Reportedly, Meghan personally rolled joints and slipped them into the gift bags. Some guests didn't even realize that they were carrying the substance until they landed back in the US, a risk that could have landed them in serious trouble. That alone paints a picture of someone who's not exactly new to the world of recreational substances. But it doesn't stop there. Let's talk about Meghan's mother, Doria. Insiders claim she's also had some shady ties in California's underground scene connections that still may exist. Whether or not that's true, the whispered narrative behind closed doors is that the Markle women have always known where to get what they want and how to keep people in line. That theory gets even darker when you consider what people are saying about Meghan's influence over Harry. The claim isn't just that she turns a blind eye to his habits, it's that she allegedly uses them as a leash, keeping him quiet, dependent, and vulnerable. But this situation isn't just about Meghan. The real shock is how many people around Harry have known something was wrong and stayed quiet. From palace insiders to seasoned royal reporters, everyone seems to have a story about Harry acting out, raging, breaking down, or going on defueled rants. But each time something was about to go public, the story would mysteriously vanish. The palace would step in, drop a feel-good photo op or charity event into the headlines, and just like that, the issue was buried. There's even an old report buried deep in the tabloids about Harry allegedly inhaling an entire canister of laughing gas during a hospital visit. Not the kind meant for fun, but the kind used by doctors, which is strictly controlled. So how did he get it? And why didn't the media chase that story? Maybe because the people who know the answers also know the cost of exposing them. Then there's Harry's military service. On the surface, it seemed like a turning point, but according to some insiders, it wasn't as clean as it looked. Whisper suggested that D tests during his time in the army were skipped, or even fake. One palace staffer claimed that the moment a surprise test was scheduled, Harry was conveniently flown off the base. Another one said he once combined sea powder and vodka during that same period. Yet again, nothing came of it. The palace stepped in, covered it up, and kept things moving. Now fast forward to today, and what are we looking at? A man who seems to be falling deeper into addiction, while the people around him either stay silent or play dumb. Meghan's reportedly creating alibis the palace is watching but not speaking, and the press, mostly quiet unless there's fluff to report. But through it all, one person has never left his side: David Langdown. From the wild Vegas days to the current Montecito disaster, Langdown has seen it all. And this time, he was the one who called for help, likely saving Harry's life. But even with Langdown stepping in, the damage might already be done. Because this doesn't look like a one-time slip-up. It looks like a slow, painful unraveling. And at this point, it's not just on Harry, it's on everyone who let it happen. From the enablers to those who chose to look the other way, there's plenty of blame to go around. Many people believe that there's a reason the royal palace panics when one of their own goes off script. It's not just about headlines, it's about legacy. Prince Harry isn't just another royal who made a few questionable choices. He's someone who was born into a world of privilege, protected from real consequences for most of his life. But now, according to insider reports, things have taken a much darker turn. And even the palace can't pretend it's business as usual. If what's being said is true, then this isn't a rebellious phase or a PR blunder. This is a man breaking down after years of buried trauma, unchecked freedom, and manipulative relationships. And now that it's all spiraling into public view, the palace isn't rushing in to help Harry. They're scrambling to hide the mess. My wife is not visibly black, but that's who she is. The way that they speak about her and the way they treat her is incredibly relatable to everybody else of color. The moment Harry was admitted to the hospital, sources say King Charles was personally notified, but there was no official announcement, no public comment. Instead, phones were ringing through the night in London, and the royal PR machine went into crisis mode, not to support Harry, but to control the fallout. Why? Because if this story goes out in full, it doesn't just damage Harry. It risks blowing apart the polished image the royal family has spent years carefully crafting. And then there's Meghan. If the rumors are true that she left the scene the same night Harry was found unconscious, then she's not just absent, she's being viewed as calculated. People close to the situation are now calling it what it looks like: an alibi. They say she didn't run in fear. She ran to be seen somewhere else. And that silence, that laugh at a club while Harry was rushed to the ER, it's now echoing through the palace walls. The shift is clear. For years, royal circles whispered their concerns about Harry. Now their focus has turned to Meghan, her past, her influence, and her decisions, which used to be brushed off as gossip, and now they're being taken seriously. Senior officials are reportedly re-examining everything from the last 5 years, trying to trace the pattern. Critics are questioning, did Meghan isolate Harry from his family on purpose? Did she encourage the very habits that now threaten his health? Was she actively creating a world around him that made him dependent and easier to control? There was no compromise with the family. No, there was no compromise, which was really sad because I still to this day believe that this was entirely possible. And then there's Doria, Meghan's mother, quiet, low profile, rarely seen. But some insiders suggest her role may be much bigger than we think. There's even speculation that she may have helped Meghan maintain access to certain connections. It's all unproven, yes. But the fact that these questions are being raised at all shows just how deep this crisis goes. It seems like behind the scenes, lawyers aren't preparing for a divorce. They're bracing for a media explosion. If Harry speaks out or his condition worsens, this could all go public in ways the palace isn't ready for. And if it turns out Meghan played even a small role in his downfall, don't expect the royals to protect her. Not this time. Still, through all the scandal and finger-pointing, one painful truth remains. Harry is not okay. Whether it started with the loss of his mother, the pressure of growing up in the spotlight, or the loneliness of adulthood, this man is in crisis. The world has watched him tell his story in documentaries, books, and interviews. But behind the polished sound bites and streaming deals is someone who never truly got the support he needed. To make that decision to receive help is not a sign of weakness. In today's world, more than ever, it is a sign of strength. And maybe that's the most heartbreaking part of it all. What's even more upsetting to many people is seeing Meghan stay silent about Harry's apparent struggles while continuing to focus on her own image and PR moments. Some even believe she's sunk so low that she might even try to turn Harry's hospitalization into a sympathy stunt. Just another way to gain public support, something she's been accused of doing time and again. Instead of addressing real pressing issues, Meghan often shifts the spotlight to herself, talking about her childhood, her problems with the royal family, and her personal struggles. But even those stories have raised eyebrows. Her own family has contradicted claims that she grew up poor or faced real hardship. Her father reportedly worked 2 jobs to provide for her, making it clear that her narrative may have been shaped more for public sympathy than truth. It seems she's always chasing the role of the perfect wife and devoted mother, seeking validation from the public. Yet when Harry was going through real pain, leaving behind his family dealing with mental health issues, and openly speaking about his Meghan, stayed quiet. Instead of using that moment to help others or guide the conversation toward healing, she focused on launching her own cooking show, possibly just to stay relevant after losing her royal status. With Harry stepping away from the royal family and tensions rising between him and King Charles, Meghan's actions, or lack thereof, have left many questioning her intentions. Did she truly stand by him during his toughest moments? Or was she more focused on shaping her own narrative once the titles and spotlight faded? To be honest, we're not just seeing a royal fall from grace. We're watching what happens when someone carries years of emotional pain without ever truly being helped. Harry isn't just going through a rough patch, he's drowning. And the saddest part, the people who should have been there to pull him out either walked away or made things worse. Whether or not Harry bounces back from this doesn't just come down to some time in rehab or going quiet for a while. What he really needs is honesty. He needs the people around him to take responsibility, to stop hiding behind fancy titles and polished statements, and finally choose healing over headlines. Because if they don't, this won't just be another messy royal story people forget in a few months. It'll leave a deep mark on the reputation of a family that always claimed to put duty before everything else. What do you guys think? Let us know in the comments below.